Hey everybody, it is the interview queen Alicia Atout here, and I am very, very excited to be catching up with Ryback. Hello.
Hello, I'm sorry. This interview has started off. One of my dogs has gone to the bathroom and I can smell it.
Oh my gosh.
But it's okay. We're starting off hot, Alicia.
Oh my goodness. I was kind of wondering what you were like looking off at,
It
and that makes sense.
it hit me just like a ton of bricks, and I know it was Sophie, so it is what it is.
Isn't it strange how when you have a couple dogs, you like know which one it is just by their behavior, and you're like, yep, that's the one that did it great.
She can't go outside though because that's the one that's had all the disc disease and the 7 ruptured discs. So she knows she's not allowed to go outside through the doggy door. So I take her out on her leash 4 or 5, 6 times a day, and
Yeah.
she actually knows to go in the bathroom, and she goes on the hard floor. So you can't be mad at her.
Right. What have you been up to the last couple of days? Just fill us in.
So much, Alicia. There's so much going on. So super excited. The biggest thing for me is Feed Me More Nutrition. I've for 3 years started it. It'll be 3 years in January. This year has been a big year and constant grinding, and it looks like I'm finally going to be turning it over. I've done everything with all of this, with the podcast and the supplements, and I had to get it to a certain level and prove the concept. I'm now going to be turning it over to a fulfillment agency, most likely, running the website, and just be the boss and just make decisions. And the whole team works for me, which was a major stressing. It caused a lot of stress for me having to scale here in Vegas and start hiring people. This will allow me to give them a small percentage per sale and grow rapidly. And I got a distribution call here this week to getting into all the stores, and I've been fighting for this from the beginning, so super pumped about that off the bat.
Congratulations. That's massive. Like, that's a big step.
Oh, yeah, it allows me to go back to wrestling and not have to. I'm still getting, don't get me wrong, I'm going to be really busy, but your buddy Chris Van Vliet was the one who put that in my head a long time ago. And when I first met him, and he was talking about his fishing business, and I kind of go, yeah, I'm not quite there yet. Things are getting good, and then this time around, I go, yeah, things are like really good. I'm way too busy. And he goes, you need to go to fulfillment. And I had a company in Chicago that does supplement fulfillment, and they work with me on Amazon, and we're getting all the kinks worked out on on the numbers and all that. So that will allow me the time though to go back, hopefully, and dedicate the times, because I mean you can only do so much as one person, and you got to have the power of people working for you. So very thankful for all of that, and had Austin Aries on last week, and I'm 6 days in on eating a plant-based diet, which is
Gosh, he turned you.
I mean, honestly, I think I might have been the easiest turn he's ever had, because I was already like I've been very health conscious. I would like to say my whole life, but as you know, you learn and you keep evolving and things that you did before. You go, oh, maybe that's not so good. And I had already was going down this path and well onto it, and I just never wanted to really look too much into the animal protein stuff, because let's be honest, I truly, I mean, my theme song is Meat on the Table, my meat hook clothesline. So my entire wrestling persona is now up in flames, which is, I told Austin, I go, I'm just going to have to add the word beyond for the beyond meat on the table, or the leaf hook clothesline will be my new thing. But I already eat a lot of the same foods, like a lot of rice, a lot of vegetables, a lot of salad. So it wasn't, for me, it was just, well, how am I going to replace the protein? And once I realized that was not difficult, it was like, I'm still doing my whey protein shakes as well. My whey protein is grass fed, and I'm not as big of a stickler on that, but Austin has very valid, good points on that whole thing. But man, yeah, I feel great.
That's insane. I mean, you mentioned the wrestling aspect, the nutrition, then you have your podcast that's going. Do you ever take time to just chill? Because anytime I see you, it's like you are just go, go, go. He shakes his head no.
No. So you have to understand, and I talk about balance all the time, and I had to overcome. I needed the 5-disc fusion shoulder replacement, and I'm sick of talking about it. But I'm like, my back is all better. My shoulder is almost there. I've been blessed to have all these great people in front of me. I'm very motivated for the fact that my experience in WWE and being there my entire life, it was in being in a position to be the guy and should have been the guy, and it all worked out the way it was supposed to work out. It's not my company. Um, they, I mean, you look throughout the history of wrestling and like how my career went, and not a lot of guys had that kind of momentum and had that happen. And I talked about it to death. So I let that negative of them creating, controlling my creative and things of that nature. For me, it lit a fire under me to do what I'm doing and have complete control and show the world that with hard work and not to put, I had set goals that relied on other people fulfilling them. And that was a very tough lesson for me to learn, where Vince McMahon himself said, Ryback, you're the hardest working guy I've ever seen that I know. It doesn't always pay off here. That right there, the moment he told me that, I go, maybe in your world it doesn't, but in my world it does. That's when I knew I was leaving, because I just couldn't. You're telling me it doesn't matter what I do, how great of ideas I have, however I get, it doesn't matter. Okay. So I left, I bet on myself, all the health things threw a wrench in all my plans, but I still wrote my book, started my podcast, started my supplement line, have turned them all into a success and made them all profitable, and got my health back. And now I'm like my YouTube, I just got my Silver Play Award. We started that 5 months ago and 6 months ago almost, and we're almost to 200,000. I'm going to get it to 1 million. And now I'm hell-bent. So I'm in that period of my life that I'm going to look back on, and I had to just hustle and grind, and it's going to create momentum for the rest of my life. Whereas if I would have gone out and started partying maybe and spending the money that I'd earned in wrestling, I would lose.
That a lot.
Yeah. So that's my mindset when I tell people, like, I'm proving right now, this is very personal, but also for me, it's all the stuff I wanted to do while I was there. But you got to put in the work, and that you got to prove it to people. So that's what I'm doing.
You're very driven, and for me it's inspiring to see, because I want to have that drive, and I feel like I do, but at the same time you also want to take it all in and have fun.
Yes.
And I feel like you have this really fantastic balance of that, and I feel like it's obviously a learning curve once you realize, like, I have the success here, but it also has to be fun. And the thing I noticed with you is you're able to balance everything. And one of the funniest parts of that is when I watch your YouTube, you have something very serious, or you'll talk about very serious topics, and then you review food. Yeah. And I think, like, you need those little happy moments and those ridiculous moments to kind of have that you're talking about. So I need to ask you about this food thing, because the fact that sometimes you'll just take like 5 minutes to chew through a sandwich is one of the funniest things I've seen. So what is the best item you've reviewed or actually had?
Yeah, so I'm going to touch on what you just said right there too. The key to, and I'm doing things that I love. So I'm having fun, and that for me, the YouTube was a way. I didn't want to do that when I was hurt. It was the one thing on social media that I wasn't doing, but it ended up being the most important piece, because YouTube is TV, and that allowed, I didn't know what happened to me, to find me again. So when I started doing this and putting the podcast on there, and I hired my boy DJ Dells, has helped me tremendously of getting this thing firing. I started learning about the tagging and the proper way to use YouTube, and just everything I do, I dive in, and we really got a good system down. And I had talked about years ago wanting to do Feed Me More food reviews kind of as a joke, because it would tie into the gimmick. Well, Dells actually, the guy messaged me one day. He goes, go get this Popeye's chicken sandwich and do a review on it. He goes, it's like all the rave. Everyone's like talking about it on YouTube. And I was, no, I'm not a loser. Like, and I go, I'm busy. And then he goes, I'm telling you, just do it. And so I go, you know what? I'm going to go do it. Alicia, I got in line. It took like 2.5 hours to get these chicken sandwiches and go to Chick-fil-A.
Like, you were one of the, like, that is crazy.
Yeah. But so again, I just faith. I just trusted. I go, you know what? Let's do it. I've committed already. I'm in line. I'm not leaving. I'm already pissed off, listening to my audiobooks, waiting for these chicken sandwiches.
Oh my God.
We do the video and instantly knew we had something. And I was talking in it, and I just had it wasn't the food. It was, the food is just a medium to connect me to the audience that loves food. I mean, we all love food, but it was, they will listen to me talk while eating food. And I go, well, what else will they listen to me on if I start doing other things? So I started doing super spicy hot challenges, which I didn't even know I was good at, which apparently I'm like pretty good at, according to the other chili heads. And what happened was, I started doing ASMR videos. I started doing whining with the Ryback, boozing with the big guy. I started doing all these little gimmick shows, Mark for Life stuff on the show. And what happened is it's now turned into my biggest asset. Half my sales for Feed Me More Nutrition come from Ryback TV now, from YouTube. And then my podcast has grown of the audio even more from the people listening and seeing it, the exposure on YouTube. So it's become one big sales funnel, but I get to have fun doing all this stupid shit where I'm planning it out now. Like, these are my fun moments on camera. And the biggest video, the best food video is the Pocky Hot Chip Challenge, where I eat their second edition, and I drive and go get a hot coffee and then give a little motivational pep talk. That's almost to 700,000.
Holy shnikes, that's crazy.
Yeah. But
Wow.
I like showing people that I'm mentally tough because of everything I've had to overcome. And that's all. Like, I just did a thing, we put it up today, talking about depression and being sad. And I get really fired up on it because sometimes people will say, what do you know about depression? I go, I've overcome a lot, and it's all mindset. And at the end of the day, you're born and you die, and it's up to you to sink or swim. It's nobody else's responsibility. And I see people say, I can't get out of bed. Guess what? That's your fucking brain. You got to figure it out. No matter what medications you get put on, you got to figure it out. You got to control the content that you put in your mind. I'm talking from personal experience. Like, we all have these emotions, and there's different levels to all this. But at the end of the day, you have to take action, and you have to pretend that nobody in this world cares about you but you.
I love that. I mean, when I was on your show, on your podcast, we were talking about trolls because I deal with it all the time. And especially since that conversation, I've been paying a lot more attention to the way people handle trolls and the negativity. And I love how you really just kill people with kindness. Like, it is an excellent way to go about that. So is that really just your way of being like, you know what, you don't have to agree with me, but here's my opinion, and happy day, you know?
Yeah, it allows, so that for me, so this is the thing I hate when I hear people, like, and you'll hear your fans will say, just block that out. Don't respond to the negativity. Well, they're not the ones dealing with it. And so they can't, and you know, the more success you have, the more you get. I've gotten a lot of it for my entire time from in wrestling on, and it's usually over false things. So I had to get really good with experience, and through talking to other doctors and people, psychologists I've had on the show, I learned that I had to, if I didn't acknowledge it, and for me, I used to do it in entertaining ways where I would roast them because I'm kind of a comedian in my own head where I like to laugh. So I'm always thinking in a sarcastic, comedic thing, but sometimes that maybe I can see where the lines can get blurred on that for people, especially when you're serious also at times and do serious things. So I found, though, the best way for me is to try to really help them. And when I respond with love and kindness and empathy, which I got from Gary Vaynerchuk, which he's helped a lot on that, it allows me to not feel bad about the situation. That because sometimes someone will get something and he'll get through it. It stings you. You'll get a 99 good ones and that one bad one will get you. Well, that's the one you really got to respond to with love and kindness. And what it does, though, is then it puts that person on the spot, and it puts them on a platform to an audience that they don't have on their own channel. And then they get to feel, because I'm a big believer in, you don't need to do it with hate, but you do it out of love. Try to truly help them, and then let them feel like what they're doing. Let them get a taste of their own medicine, and it's a double whammy. And it teaches, because I feel like hurt people. They're in a really bad place, so they need to know what it feels like for that pain. It's like if a little kid's going around and shooting his friends with a BB gun. He doesn't understand the leg. He doesn't understand what that feels like. So you got to shoot him back in the leg. You want him to understand that pain. And, and not everyone's going to always agree with that method, but I'm doing it out of love and kindness. And to me, that is the best way to handle it because it doesn't bother me one bit.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's one of those things where if I get a comment, I'll just either ignore it. That's usually the way I go about it. But sometimes these things hurt. Like, sometimes they actually do hit you, and that's where you either feed them to the wolves. I'll let my fans take it into their own hands, or you kill them with kindness. So I definitely agree on your method there.
You just got to practice it, though. I'm telling you, it's like anything else. Anything you do in life, you have to practice it to get good at. And when I tell people that, I know when I first heard it from Gary, I go, he's full of shit. I go, and this is me. I go, Gary's full of shit on that. I go, he's just doing it just to say that. But he's so deep into the game. He's far ahead of all of us. I go, you know what? Everything else Gary says I agree with. Let me just try this for a while and start practicing it. And then sure enough, and like now when I see that stuff, though, it doesn't bother me. I just do it now. Like I've gotten a lot better at it it's just practice. So.
I'm going to keep practicing. I appreciate all of the advice on here. It's always so lovely. I know this is
Always.
our second chat. It's so lovely being able to just pick your brain as well as just ask you my interview questions. But thank you so much for joining me today. It was really lovely having you on and catching up with you.
Awesome. No, thank you as always, too. And I just tell people for my Feed Me More Nutrition, feedmemore.com and Amazon, and Conversation with the Big Guy Ryback on all podcast platforms, at Ryback TV on YouTube, to subscribe and turn on those notifications.
Yes, go make sure you subscribe, turn on that little notification bell. I absolutely love watching your stuff. Like, it is some of the most entertaining stuff right
Thank
now
you.
that I check out. So thank you again for joining me. And everybody, this has been the Interview Queen, Alicia, catching up with Ryback. We'll see you next time.